Welcome to the show about navigating the difficult relationship. Always seek a professional for your mental health and well-being and pick your battles wisely. I'm your host, Paul Coliani. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. I want to get right into today's topic, or actually it might be two topics. We'll see what happens. Person wrote to me and said, I found your podcast a few years ago. Listening to you has helped me realize that I wasn't the whole problem, as he used to tell me. Two of my adult children stopped talking to me because I gave their dad this chance. We were always very close and loving, and they really wanted me to get away and stay away from their dad due to the way he treated them growing up and me. That's been painful and hard for me as well. Can you possibly do a podcast on that if you haven't already? Thank you for sharing that. And this is actually a continuation from a message that this person sent a while back. And I had to find out if they were still together. And it appears they're still together. So this person is now still married to a person that is being hurtful or has been hurtful and abusive. And her last message was, I'm trying to leave, but I don't want to hurt him or damage his progress by leaving. Again, thank you for sharing that. And I did have an episode on this, so I forget what it's called, but I did talk about this in the past, about leaving someone and having a fear of what you'll do to them if you leave. And I always prioritize yourself. You know the saying, put the oxygen mask on yourself before anyone else. If you can't breathe in the relationship because somebody is causing all this stress and pain and suffering, then what you're doing is basically sticking around for someone else and completely omitting yourself, completely denying yourself of what you are giving to others. You are denying yourself your compassion, your kindness, your empathy, your own support system. Like, you have to start with you as your own support system. That's where it starts. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but it's true. You are where it starts because you have to take the first step. And typically in an abusive relationship, the emotionally abusive person or physically abusive person, they do not take the first step. They do not do it unless something kicks their butt. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying some people will figure it out. They'll hear a show like mine. They'll read something that makes them realize that, they should change because they're being hurtful. Some people do figure it out and some people don't. The trick is understanding when they don't figure it out, they won't. That doesn't mean they won't later on, but if nothing has changed for months or years, nothing will change. Ever. And if you burn that into your brain, then you stop wishing and hoping and praying things change and continue going day to day, waiting for that to happen. Because waiting is a rut. And if you don't get out of that rut, you stay that way. You stay in that rut. You stay in that wishing, hoping, and praying state. And you don't serve yourself or anyone else who loves you. If you are in a waiting state, waiting for someone else to change, you don't serve yourself and anyone else who loves you. And let's make this very clear, and I'm being blunt because I love you. I care about you, but I want to be very, very clear here. Someone who loves you wants you to feel safe and happy. Period. That's the bottom line. Someone who loves you wants you to feel safe and happy. I say that because if you are with someone who doesn't make you feel safe and you're not happy, what does that say? Are you saying that this person doesn't love me? I'm saying that their version of love is not healthy. I'm saying it's toxic. I do not define love the way somebody would love in that respect. If somebody claims to love you, but continues to hurt you or continues to make you feel bad, and especially sees you unhappy and it doesn't matter to them or blames you for it, that is not my definition of love. It's not. Love is supporting someone else's happiness. If I love my wife, which I absolutely do, I want to see her happy. And when she's not happy, wow, I'm on it. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what I did wrong if it's me. Because if I did something wrong, I don't want to do that again because I love her and I want to see her happy. And if she is unhappy, I want to know why. And I'm not saying that I force it out of her. I'm not saying that, hey, you got to tell me right now. I'm saying, what's going on? That's the question I'm asking. What's happening? Why are you unhappy? Let's figure this out. And if she needs time to process stuff, I step back. Because when we love someone, we step back and let them process. And when she's ready, she'll come back to me and we'll talk about it. And that's whether it's my fault or not. If I did something that, unintentionally, or maybe I said something wrong or ticked her off or whatever, I want to make sure I know about it so I don't do that again. That is a primary difference between someone who is doing emotionally abusive behavior and someone who isn't. The person who's doing these behaviors, if they hurt the person they claim to love, and that person is unhappy, is suffering because of that behavior, the person who hurt their partner or whoever should never want to do that behavior again, should never want to repeat it again, because the person they say they love, they should want to see happy. That's the bottom line for me. So if you're with someone who says they love you, and maybe they apologize. Sometimes people apologize after they hurt you, but then they repeat what they've done over and over again. So the apologies mean nothing. Because an apology, it has to include the act of never doing that behavior again. And if you do it again, then the apology was meaningless and it was just a placator. It was a delay tactic. I'm calling it out right now. If somebody apologizes over and over again for the same behaviors or the same results of you feeling bad or you feeling responsible for all the problems in the relationship, if they're guilting you, if they're disconnecting from you emotionally and just making you feel like you are alone in the relationship, or the primary problem in the relationship, or the only problem in the relationship, then the kind of love they're showing is not love at all. It's dysfunction. It's toxic. And somebody who doesn't care how you feel enough to change what they're doing to make you feel that way, if you feel bad, if they don't care enough to change what they're doing because you feel bad, you have to question their love, their intentions, their motivations, because they should want you to be happy. That's the bottom line for me. So this person who wrote, who I believe is still with this person, her children's dad, her adult children are upset with her and are not talking to her anymore. That's a very tough situation. But I have to ask, is the person who wrote still in love, still wanting this relationship with her partner, with her husband? And if that's the case, is she willing to sacrifice her relationship with her children? That sounds like I'm giving her a cold ultimatum, I know. But the ultimatum is already there. I don't even have to be involved. It's already happening. Her children have said, him or us. Her children have witnessed the behaviors. Her children have been the victim of his behaviors. And the person who wrote, you have been the victim of his behaviors. And your children have witnessed it. And they're upset that you are not protecting yourself the way they want to protect you. And they can't make you leave. They're not going to pull you out of the house. So they're doing what they can. They're going on a love hunger strike until you do the right thing in their eyes. That's what they're doing. And right now, what they see you doing is prioritizing an abusive, hurtful man over them. I don't say that to make you feel bad. I'm saying that because I guarantee that's their perspective. Is it unfair? Maybe. I mean, you're an adult, you can make decisions. And if you want to be with their dad, and maybe you don't want to be with him, but you're having trouble leaving for whatever reason it is, and I'm sure it's absolutely scary and difficult to leave. But what's happening is that you and others who love you are also suffering. And I don't say that to make you feel bad or force you to leave. This isn't about that at all. I'm putting everything in perspective. That's all I'm doing. I'm not here to judge your decisions. Your children are judging your decisions, but I'm not, because I know it can be difficult. It can feel impossible. It can be scary sometimes. So I would never push you to leave somebody that you feel afraid of leaving. But at the same time, I'm going to give you the perspective of everyone in this situation. And right now, your primary support system starts with you. Your other support system has stopped talking to you because they see you making decisions they disagree with. So if you do not make the decision that supports you first because of your fear of hurting someone else who's been hurting you for years, because of your fear of how it affects your child's father, your partner, if you are afraid to move forward because of how it affects them, then you are missing the primary ingredient of a loving, connected, supportive relationship. The primary ingredient is someone who loves you, wants you to take care of yourself. They want you to be happy. They want you to feel loved. And when you're with somebody who doesn't make you feel that way, then what are you protecting? Are you protecting the ability for this person to continue hurting you? I know that sounds like enabling, and I'm not saying that's it, but there's an ingredient in there. There's an ingredient of enabling in there. And I'm trying to be very careful here because now we have a lot of lives affected, you and your children, and he'll be fine. He'll figure it out. Believe it or not, I've heard this a lot. I've heard the victims of abusive behavior not wanting to leave their partners because, the person is caring and compassionate. They don't want to hurt their partner, even though their partner has been hurting them for a long time. But I understand. I understand how hard it is, how difficult it is. There may be financial issues that you can't leave. There may be other reasons. But in your message, again, I'm talking to the person who wrote to me, in your message, the previous message that you wrote to me, you said that the reason you're not leaving is because you don't want to affect him. And so I didn't hear anything about how to take care of yourself. And if you're worried about affecting someone else, here's the biggest disservice yet. When we worry about another full-grown adult who can make adult decisions, when we worry about what's going to happen to them, when we make our adult decisions for ourselves and for the people we love, even the people that hurt us, sometimes we still love them. When we make decisions for ourselves, we give others the opportunity to change, progress, evolve. Some people will never, ever change until you do. And that might mean taking steps to protect yourself, to care for yourself, maybe for the first time in a long time, because when they no longer have you as a target of their control or abusive behavior, they have no choice but to turn the focus back on themselves and reflect on what they're going to do with their life. While you are in the relationship, however, as long as you are in the relationship, you are the target. So they don't focus on themselves while in the relationship, they focus on you. But when you're out of the relationship or you do something that, a temporary separation, you stay at a relative's house for a while, when you do something that takes care of yourself and you're no longer the target, their focus, then they have no choice but to focus on themselves. Now, they may not, but that is the moment of opportunity for them to make a different decision. The decision they make every day when you're in their life is to focus on you. What are they going to do that's going to upset me? What's the next thing that's going to upset me? They have their focus, all their attention on you. So while you're there, that focus stays on you. When you're not there, they have an opportunity to focus on themselves. Yes, they should do it while you're there. They should focus on themselves and figure out why they're hurtful and stop doing that behavior. But when that doesn't happen, when the behavior continues, then we have to look at other variables. And when you live with somebody like this, or you're in a relationship with somebody like this, you are the variable, and other people in your life are the variable. And if you change, they have no choice but to change or try harder to control you. And when you are no longer under their control, when you are no longer under their power, they have to focus on something else. They have to turn their attention to something else. And this brings us right back to this person's message where she says, I don't want to damage his progress or hurt him. And I'm here to say that staying with somebody who refuses to change, who continues to hurt you, and they choose not to change even though they know they're hurting you, is absolutely detrimental to their progress. I mean, if we're going to look at it this way, you staying in a relationship with somebody who continues to hurt you after they know they hurt you, because one of my favorite questions is, do you realize you're hurting me? Do you realize that when you say that, you're hurting me? Do you realize when you do that behavior, or when you comment on this, it hurts me? Do you realize that? And when you get an answer, that tells you everything you need to know, because they're either going to say, no, I didn't, and I'm sorry, and I'll never do that again, which would be a healthy answer. Or they're going to say, well, I'm not hurting you, which is invalidating and insensitive. And they're going to say, well, you're not hurt. That's another invalidation. Or they're going to say, yes, I do. I do know I'm hurting you, but you deserve it. Or they'll just say, yes, I do. And it's fun. That's a real answer from somebody that wrote to me once. They said, my boyfriend said that he knew he was hurting me because it was fun. So that's good to know, because if that's where you stand in someone's life, it would certainly help you make the next best decision for you, which is why it's important that they know they're hurting you and not just assume they're hurting you. Even if you are crying in front of them, they may not realize they're hurting you. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens a lot. The truth is that some people don't know they're hurting you, and some people believe you're hurting yourself, because if you would just do what they want you to do, you wouldn't be hurt. That's their logic. A lot of people that do hurtful behaviors, that's their logic. If you would just do what I told you to do, we wouldn't have this conversation. You wouldn't be crying. So let me control you. Let me make you do what I want you to do so that we can both be happy. So when you take yourself out of the picture, when you are no longer their focus, then you give them an opportunity to change. So I don't want you going forward thinking that if you leave somebody who hurts you, it might hurt them. Because what happens if you don't leave is they don't have an opportunity to grow. They don't have an opportunity to change. And again, this is after conversations like, hey, do you realize your behavior hurts me? Hey, do you realize when you say that in front of your friends, it hurts me? It's not necessarily that you need to know the answer. You just need to know that they know the answer. You want to hear it from their mouth. Because if they know they're hurting you, you know where you stand. If they don't know they're hurting you, then now they do. And if they continue hurting you after that, then they hurt you knowing that they're hurting you. And that's an entirely different perspective. That's an entirely different way to look at things, is when you're with somebody who claims to love you or pretends to love you and continues to hurt you, even though you told them it hurts, you're in an entirely different situation where you really don't matter. And I never want you to feel that way. You should matter to the person who claims to love you. So let me wrap this up with this message regarding this person's children. She has adult children that aren't talking to her, and they're not talking to her because of the decisions that she's made with their dad. I heard something today that I don't think I would ever say out loud to anyone, because I'm very careful how I phrase things. I'm very careful to guide you in a certain direction that may or may not be appropriate. I'm very careful not to go down certain paths so that you don't get in trouble, so that you don't get hurt more, so that you're not in danger. But I heard something today, and I'm just going to repeat it. Not that it's coming from me. I'm just quoting this. I watched this. I like to watch the police investigations and interrogations on YouTube. So I turned one on, and it was about a couple that lived in an RV, and they called the police. And I guess it was a very young child, maybe less than 2 years old. Their young child had stopped breathing, or it was really injured. The police came, and it was definitely a case of child abuse or neglect or something like that. And the police officers were talking to the mom who didn't leave the relationship because the father was hurting the children and the mom was afraid to leave. And the mom asked the question, what am I supposed to do? He has a gun. He's dangerous. I didn't feel safe leaving. What am I supposed to do? And the police officer said, when your child is in danger, their lives are more important than your safety. This is not me giving you advice. This is not my guidance, because I would never want you to put yourself in harm's way. But I know law enforcement sees it all. They see children in the worst conditions, and sometimes the children have died because of the treatment from adults who are supposed to take care of them. And so when he said your children's lives override your fear, or your children's lives should override your own safety, that made me realize that we prioritize the most important people in our life. We prioritize them. It is like running into a burning building and saving your children, or saving someone else's children, or saving an adult, saving an animal. It's like prioritizing other people's lives over yours. And though I would never give you that as advice, because I have to be careful what I say, because there's a chance that you could be hurt if I say anything like that, I'm just relaying this because it made me kind of think about it for a while. It would be something that I feel I would do myself. I feel if children were in danger, I would put myself in danger to help them get out of danger. This situation I'm talking about is a lot different. The children are out of danger. I'm just relaying it because I just happened to hear this today, and I just thought it was impactful. And if I'm going to tell you, hey, this is not what I'm telling you, this is just something that I'm thinking about. And I'm sharing it with you because it is a philosophical way to think, like prioritizing the people that we want in our lives for the rest of our life, prioritizing the people that are most important to us, especially in this case, where somebody else is an adult who will be fine. He'll figure it out. I'm not saying to this person who wrote that you should prioritize your children over your husband. That's a choice that you have to make. That's a choice that only you can make, because I don't know the entire situation. Nobody knows your situation but you best. So the way I look at things is, if my children are in danger, of course, I'm going to put myself in danger to get them out of danger. And that's not my advice. That's just something I would do myself if that were a situation that unfolded. In this person's case, her children aren't in danger, so should she prioritize her children over her husband? And here's my answer to that. Because of the way you wrote your last message to me, where you said, I don't want to leave because it will hurt him, or it may hurt him, and it may hurt his progress, then my thought is, if you're worried about hurting him, then you're treating him like a child who can't make his own decisions and learn how to heal and work through the stuff he needs to work through himself. And since you're not saying, I love him and want to stay, it sounds like to me that your children take priority. And so I've said a lot of things, and I've kind of gone around a few things and didn't tell you what to do. You can tell which way I'm leaning, but I'm certainly not telling you to go. But I'm only leaning that way because of what you said. I would lean toward prioritizing your children because of what you said. You said, I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to hurt his progress. And I heard nothing about, I love him so much and I can't live without him. And I mean, you wouldn't have to say that, but there were no words of connection and wanting to stay. It just sounded like you were worried about what would happen to him, a full-grown adult who can make decisions, who can figure life out if you're not in his life. He can work it out. I remember I told a client once who was married for many years, and his wife was emotionally abusive for many of those years, and he was afraid to leave her. He was afraid that she wouldn't be okay if he left. And I asked him, I said, why do you think you're so special? Why do you think that you are the reason that your wife is holding it all together? Isn't she an adult? Can't she make her own decisions? Is she disabled or something and she needs you around 24/7? I don't think I said those words, but it was kind of the same premise. Like, why do we not give the other adults in our life credit as a person who can take care of themselves? We shouldn't take on the responsibility of owning or being responsible for somebody else's emotional state, for their mental capacity, for their ability to progress or heal or change, because most fully capable adults don't need us there to do that. Some of them may convince us that we need to be there, and if we leave, they'll be hurt or they'll suffer, but we don't need to be there for another fully grown, capable adult when they can take care of themselves. We all go through heartache. We all grieve. We all have pain in our lives. And we all have to work through it and deal with it. We all have to heal. Now, victims of abuse have more. Victims of abuse have a lot more to deal with, a lot of trauma. And they have a lot more healing to do than the person who has been hurtful. So if you're listening to me right now and you're worried that the person that you're with who's hurting you will be hurt if you do something to take care of yourself or protect yourself, in almost all cases, these are fully grown functional adults that can take care of themselves and figure it out. So this is how I'm laying all of this out today, is that we have to be careful thinking that our decisions are going to be so impactful to someone else that their lives will be ruined forever. Because in 99% of the cases, 99.9% of the cases, that's not true. Yes, there are unstable people out there. There are people who say, well, if you leave, I'll hurt myself, I'll kill myself. I actually have an episode on that called If You Leave Me, I'll Kill Myself, the ultimate abuse of your empathy and compassion. Go to loveandabuse.com and go to the podcast section and you'll find the episode in there. But yes, there are people like that who are unstable and they will use that as a guilt tactic, a manipulation tactic to keep you there. But most of the relationships that I've worked with, they have stable people in their life. Even the abusers are somewhat stable, that they'll figure it out. They'll work through it. They'll heal. So this is why I say, or at least I told my client, you're not that special. You're not that special in her life to the point where she needs you 24/7 to take care of her because she has this huge disability. It's not that at all. I mean, some people are disabled and you'll feel the need to take care of them. I understand. But when you have a fully functioning, capable adult and you want to separate yourself from that adult, you have to know that they're going to figure it out. Just like you're going to have to figure your life out and yourself out, they're going to figure their life out and figure themselves out. The challenge is, and this is probably one of the biggest issues, is that many victims of emotionally abusive behavior are often very kind, very compassionate, very empathetic, so they don't want to hurt anyone else. And the abusive people, they might have kindness and compassion and care, but most of them are highly insecure and fearful. And that's why they do abusive behaviors. And so we have this kind, caring, compassionate, sympathetic, empathetic person with somebody who's very insecure and very fearful. And there's a dynamic there and a codependence there that develops in these abusive relationships. And so the kind, caring, compassionate person doesn't want to hurt the insecure and fearful person. But the insecure and fearful person doesn't want the relationship to end because they have this fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, or whatever they're dealing with, whatever insecurity or any dysfunctions or toxic behaviors that they haven't yet healed. Those will come out when you are with a person like that and you want to leave. Those will come out, that fear. Please don't leave me. Please, please, please. I'll do anything. Or something like that. The fear comes out. And when that fear comes out, the compassionate person doesn't want the other person to be afraid. The compassionate person, the kind person, doesn't want them to feel insecure. And so we compensate for a dysfunction by staying with somebody we're afraid to leave because we're afraid to hurt them. We compensate for their dysfunctions. And when that happens, the cycle never ends. As soon as they feel like they're losing control over you, or they are going to lose you altogether, their insecurities and fears will come up, and then your compassion and your empathy will increase, and then that draws you closer to them, or it pulls you, really. It just pulls you back. And when it pulls you back, you feel compelled to stay. So I hope I've given this person who wrote enough to work with. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want you to make sure that your priorities are straight. And if your priority is your husband, then I won't tell you to leave. If you believe that he's healing more every day and getting better and better, and he's actually changing into a decent person, then maybe his children, your children, will have to get used to the new person, but he has a lot of making up to do. He has a lot of explaining to do to his children. And if he's in a healthier place, then he will be able to go to them and say, I've been a real jackass. I've been an awful, awful person. I've hurt you in many ways. And I'm just here to say I'm so, so sorry. And, I'm not asking for your forgiveness, but I just want to let you know that that will never happen ever again. I will never, ever be that person again. So if he is healing and if he is getting better, then he needs to have that conversation with him. That's what needs to happen next. Because if you really want this relationship with him, then assuming he is on a healing path, he needs to repair that relationship with the children. And if he can't do it, then this is where you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I get it. Like if you really love your husband and you really love your children, what's going to happen next? That is a very personal choice. I know what I would do. And let me just repeat this one more time. I'm only leaning toward you leaving because of what you told me, because of what you said to me about not wanting to hurt him, which tells me it's not about you and what you want. It's about what you fear happening to him, which tells me there's that pull into a codependent situation that you feel compelled to stay in because of his insecurities and fears instead of your priorities, what is most important to you. And that's what I'm hoping you will take from this. You prioritizing what you want most, out of all of this. And I don't mean you want most for him to feel better or feel good. I want you to do what's right for you. I want you to do what matters most to you, what feels good to you, what feels like a direction of happiness, of love, of bringing love into your life. Because if you define love like I define love, supporting another person's happiness, how do you love yourself? Thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry that you're going through it. I wish you much strength and healing through this, and best to you and best to your children. I hope everything works out for everyone involved. Love and Abuse is the official podcast of the Mean Workbook, an assessment and healing guide for difficult relationships. The workbook contains a 200-point assessment to tell you exactly what's causing you to leave so many interactions feeling bad. Gain clarity on your relationship today. Visit loveandabuse.com for more information. You can also listen to the podcast over there, and there's even a safe listening button where all the titles to the episodes are changed so that you don't have to explain to anyone what you're listening to or why. And if you've discovered that you are doing hurtful behaviors to someone that you care about and you want to change that about yourself, sign up for the only program that walks you through the entire process of healing from being emotionally abusive. It has changed thousands of lives and relationships and can change yours too. Visit healedbeing.com to start with some free lessons right away. This show exists to remind you that you are not alone and you're not going crazy. You are worthy of respect, kindness, and love. And you deserve to be accepted exactly as you are. Stay strong. We'll talk again soon.